approved in the Knesset and launched this morning. 1.2 million Israelis have just received the first wave of government grants intended to help families and stimulate the economy amidst the pandemic crisis. The first rollout going to families with kids under 18 years old, the second wave going to seniors, and then finally the rest of the country's adults. Israel's National Insurance Institute, in charge of dispensing the funds, is promising to dole out payments to at least 1 million Israelis every day until they've finished, the total cost of the stimulus amounting to 6.5 billion shekels. The payments, in the works for weeks, are also falling in line with the country's new coronavirus czar's plan of action. Professor Roni Gamzu saying that while hospitalizations and the possible collapse of the health system are a concern, the socioeconomic trauma is much greater. Since the start of the pandemic, Israel's unemployment rate has skyrocketed to over 25%. With that in mind, Gamzu has now vowed not to institute any more sudden or heavy closures without concrete and explicit reason. To that end, Gamzu is pushing to reopen most stores and malls by this weekend, the airways by mid-August, and schools by September 1 with some exceptions. Namely that reopening yeshivas and seminaries to students from abroad was not Gamzu's idea, and that may be subject to reform. Students from the U.S. in particular will likely be barred until a later date, and any institutions or foreigners found breaking regulations will be subject to closures or deportation. Meanwhile, a uniform plan to reopen cultural events, places of work, synagogues, etc. is reportedly in the works too. Now coming back to health, it may be second to the economy, but not by much. 3 major hospitals already operating at over 100% capacity in their COVID-19 wards, and 2 more at over 90%. Though the Hebrew University alleges that Israel is gaining control over the second wave thanks to stabilizing numbers of the seriously and moderately ill. New infections over the weekend, raising the total number of cases in Israel to over 72,300. Active cases now at around 26,000, 340 seriously ill, and the death toll raising to a terrible 531. Among the latest infections, Jerusalem Affairs Minister Rafi Peretz, who confirmed testing positive over the weekend, though he says he currently feels well. This makes for the 3rd Israeli lawmaker to test positive for coronavirus, following former Health Minister Yaakov Litzman and Joint List MK Sami Abu Shakhdeh, Peretz having apparently caught it from his minister's Director General Avi Cohen. And meanwhile, Jerusalem District Police Commander Doron Yadid will also be entering quarantine after coming into contact with Peretz last week.